You're now watching the Danny Mac Podcast on the BetRivers Network.
There is some good news for you Bears fans. There's only 3 more games, and you don't even have to watch them if you don't want to. There's nobody that's making you watch these things. Wow. The Bears lose again. 30-12 is the final against the Vikings on Monday Night Football. Caleb Williams again struggling in the first half. The Bears were dreadful on third down. I'm not going to talk a ton today about the game specifically because there's so much more big picture here, and it's evidenced every time you watch teams in the NFC North what is so obviously missing from a Chicago standpoint, and that is offensive direction from the top on down. The more you watch good head coaches, and the Vikings head coach Mike O'Connell is starting to carve his name into Coach of the Year territory. He has been absolutely terrific. You have to love what the Vikings have done with Sam Darnold. And Darnold tonight, 24 out of 40 for 231, 1 touchdown. Justin Jefferson gets his first touchdown against the Bears in a couple of years. You remember he didn't play in either of the 2 games last year. And then it was Jordan Addison who had all of the targets in the first meeting this year, but Darnold also was picked once. Tyreek Stevenson with the 1 Bears pick on the night. He was okay. The Vikings just kind of put the Bears to sleep a little bit. They converted half of their first down or their third down attempts. They were 7 out of 14 on third down. And Aaron Jones ran the football effectively enough against a Bears defense that has not defended the run very well this year at all. And as it turns out, the Bears defense that everybody chirped about last year in the second half, oh, look at how we're among the best scoring defenses in the league. And yes, you look at the last 8 games. Yeah, sure, they were when you were playing Taylor Heineke and people like that and Joshua Dobbs, and you know the story. They only beat 1 good one last year, and that was Jared Goff. They are not a very good football team on any stretch of the imagination, and they're going to wind up finishing near the bottom in several very alarming categories for next season. And I've been of the mindset this remains a playoff roster. Is it? Dan, is it really when both lines of scrimmage are so god-awful? Gervon Dexter, who leaves tonight, has done nothing. Zach Pickens has done nothing for the Bears. DeMarcus Walker is just a guy. Montez Sweat has not played very well this year. He's been hurt, but he's been ineffective. Andrew Billings is their best defensive lineman, and since he got hurt, they have really fallen apart, and I think he's going to wind up eating his way out of the NFL anyway. So I don't know if that's a playoff roster. Man, I was of the mindset that they were. I love their secondary when healthy. The future of Jaquan Brisker is hugely a question with his concussion issues. Man, all these guys who talked so much about this is the change they wanted to make. And yes, all the Matt Eberflus problems, and they got upset after the Thanksgiving Day game at Ford Field, and Jalen Johnson stopped the head coach, and blah, 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 all this talk. And they get the change they wanted. Thomas Brown is named interim head coach, and they crapped the bed 2 weeks consecutively. They had nothing against the Niners last week, and at the break again tonight against the Vikings, they had nothing. They lose the game 30-12. They finally score a touchdown at US Bank Stadium. Last year, when they beat the Vikings 12-10, it was courtesy of 4 Cairo Santos field goals. And tonight they finally score a touchdown in the fourth quarter of the game. And it's like, yay, rah, they score the touchdown. The slant to Keenan Allen, who threw his helmet in disgust on the sideline. This team has lacked leadership, and not just from the coaches, from the players. Everybody's talking, and nobody's playing. I look at these teams in the division. I look at what Dan Campbell has done with the Lions, who just got terrible news yesterday. David Montgomery is going to miss the rest of the season. He's going to need knee surgery for an MCL. The defensive lineman, McNeil, number 54, McNeil with the unnecessary second L. He's out for the year. They lost a corner with an ankle injury for the rest of the year. They're 12-2. The Vikings are 12-2. The Packers are 10-4, and there's the Bears. And what do all those teams have in common? They have a great head coach. They have a head coach who makes a difference. Dan Campbell, with all of his meatballedness and all of his thinking with his pee-pee, has made that team believe in itself, and they have drafted well on the offensive line. They've augmented Jared Goff with good, skilled position players. And Aiden Hutchinson out, McNeil out, Monty's out. It's going to be tough for the Lions to get there for the first time in franchise history, which sucks. And Matt LaFleur, who has yet to lose to the Bears. He's perfect against the Bears, 11-0, heading into the January 5th date at Lambeau Field. Yep, you only got a few more days before you get to see the Bears again. They play the Lions at home this coming Sunday, the 22nd. And then they play the Seahawks at home on Thursday night, the 26th. Wow. So not much of a refractory period. You got a bunch of Bears games in a short little window here. And then you have a 10-day respite, a little bit more of a refractory period before they close the book on this awful season. If you like wagering on college and pro football, let me tell you a little bit about the BetRivers same game parlay. You pick two or more from within the same game, and if you hit, that can be worth squares that can earn you profit boosts, bonus bets, and jackpots up to $10,000. I missed on this one tonight. Caleb Williams didn't get the over on his passing yards I had, but I had the other two, but you got to hit them all. It's the same game parlay. It's at BetRivers. The Bears lose to the Vikings 30-12. Oh, man. Kevin O'Connell. There it is. I got the name right. I screwed it up earlier, and it's been bugging me since. Mike McDonald, Kevin O'Connell. He's the guy who's coaching the Vikings. Matt LaFleur with the Packers. Dan Campbell with the Lions. And the Bears have nothing. And there's no hope that they're going to spend big money. No hope that they would go out and say, yeah, it's worth $15 million to us to get Ben Johnson in here. We want him. There's other teams that are willing to pay 12, 14. We're going to pay 15. We'll top it. We'll give him 5 years, 15 mil a year. That's what you do. You paid Yannick Ngakoue $15 million last year. Why wouldn't you pay your head coach $15 million? Because he's going to be here. And he makes a lot more difference than a 1-year stopgap pass rusher, for crying out loud. Because that's all they got in Ngakoue. When you think about the disparity, you've got all of that money in salary cap, and teams are willing to lose it because you know you're gonna miss on some free agents, and you're gonna waste money. And you want to cut costs on a head coach. You don't want to pay $15 million for a head coach. Your franchise is worth $7 billion. You have got to get an offensive mind to compete against these other minds in this division. This is a very good division, and it's a young division. And what do the Vikings do next year with J.J. McCarthy and Sam Darnold? And Daniel Jones is still on the roster. They're not going to go to work with all three. Will Brian Flores still be there? Will Brian Flores, if he gets a head coaching opportunity, ruin a quarterback like he was accused of doing with Tua in Miami? That kind of scares me about Flores getting the Bears job. I want an offensive head coach. It's not a prerequisite. I would favor one. But if it's a defensive head coach, he better have somebody really, really good and with skins on the wall who can be the quarterback mentor for the future, because that seems to be the only thing the Bears have going for them is Caleb Williams. And they have two good receivers in DJ Moore and Rome Odunze. And Keenan Allen, but he probably won't be around for it. I don't know what happened to Cole Kmet. Was he targeted once tonight? Once. And the Bears, I think, had 9 penalties again tonight. Man, Thomas Brown, he did nothing in these 2 auditions, did he? He did zip. There is no reason for anybody to beat the drums for Thomas Brown's baby, or Thomas Brown's body lies decomposing in its grave. 3 more to go with these kids. I'm going to try to talk to Lomas Brown, the veteran Lions broadcaster. He's in the Ring of Honor at Ford Field. Played tackle when Barry Sanders was their outstanding running back. Lomas played college football with former Bears running back Neil Anderson. Did you know? Man, that place looked cool too, didn't it? Didn't it look like it was buzzing on Monday Night Football? U.S. Bank Stadium. Cool stadium. Good head coach. Kevin O'Connell. Oh, man. And the Bears. They'll hire 35-year-old Joe Brady. And he'll be the wrong guy. Why do you have faith in it? It would be impossible to have faith in it. I'm babbling. And I've said enough. The Bears lost to the Vikings 30-12. I'm going to preview their date with the Detroit Lions later this week. I want to thank Sam Michael, who is my executive producer. Adam Delavitt, Baby Capone, runs the show for the BetRivers Podcast Network. Randy Merkin is the guy who always gets the A-list guests. And we are assisted from a social media standpoint by Alex Astor and Troy Mockery. Thank you for listening, those of you who watched on YouTube.